All right, this is section 4.1, part 2. So the point slope formula, like I was saying in the last video, you can enter in values for y sub 1, for m, and for x sub 1. But for y and x, you're just going to leave those as y and x. So find the equation of a line given m is 4 passing through the point 2, 1. So we'll label this as x sub 1, y sub 1. So y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. So y minus 5 is equal to 4 times x minus 2. Okay, so this is going to be y minus 5 is equal to 4x minus 8. Add 5 to both sides. So y equals 4x minus 3. And that would be the equation of a line given your slope is 4 and passing through the point 2, 5. All right, find the equation of a line passing through the points -1, 6 and 4, 3. The only difference between this problem and this one is they give you the slope. Here, we have to find the slope and then apply the point slope formula. So we'll say this is x sub 1, y sub 1, and this is x sub 2, y sub 2. We could switch those points and it would turn out the same. So first is finding the slope. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So that would be 3 minus 6, 4 minus -1. So that would be -3 over 4 plus 1. So -3 over 5 for our slope. Okay, and then we can use y minus y sub 1 equals m, x minus x sub 1. Okay, again, we can use either point we want to. We'll just stick with -1, 6 since it's already labeled as x sub 1, y sub 1. So y minus 6 is equal to -3 over 5, x minus -1. So we've got -3 over 5 be x plus 1. Then we have -3 over 5x minus 3 over 5. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Now I need a little bit of side work over here. -3 fifths plus 6 over 1. We'll multiply this 5 over 5. -3 fifths plus, this will be 30 over 5. So then we'll have -3 plus 30 all over 5. Okay, so 30 minus 3. So we got 27 over 5. So we got y is equal to -3 fifths x plus 27 over 5. And this would be our equation for a line going through those 2 points. All right, now let's look at writing an equation for the linear function. And we know that's a linear function because this function right here is a straight line. Okay, so write an equation for the linear function given the graph of f shown below. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, number 1, where is the y-intercept? And remember, a y-intercept is where the function crosses over the y-axis. And that looks like right here. So the y-intercept is 2. So b is equal to 2. Okay, well now we need to find the slope. So I need 2 nice points I can use. So I'm going to write up there b is equal to 2. Okay, so 2 nice points looks like, so here's one right here. That looks like that is 2, 8. And looks like we have this one right here. That's a nice point. -2, 4. All right, so we'll say this is x sub 1, y sub 1. We'll say x sub 2, y sub 2. So m is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So, whoops, this should be a 2. So 8 minus 4 over 2 minus negative 2. So 4 over 2 plus 2 looks like 4 over 4, which is 1. Okay, now, let's see. I do have a little mistake. This should be a negative 4 right there since it's on the negative portion for y. That starts here, goes down. That's the negative portion for y. Okay, so that means that this should be a negative 4, which means I'll change this. Okay, so that would be 8 plus 4. So we got 12. 12 over 4 is 3. Now, what I did was I checked it by doing this. I started at the y-intercept, and I started there, and I went 1, 2, 3. So my rise should be 3. Remember, rise over run is slope. And then I went over 1. So that should be my slope. So you could do that as well instead of going through this formula. Okay, so we've got our slope is 3, and our y-intercept is 2. So y equals mx plus b. That's going to be y is equal to 3x plus 2. And there's the equation of this linear function. Okay, if f is a linear function with f of 3 is equal to negative 2 and f of 8 is equal to 1, find an equation for the function in slope-intercept form. Okay, well, this right here is saying that x is 3, y is negative 2. This is saying that x is 8 and y is 1. So we need to find an equation. Okay, so this is saying that this is the ordered pair 3, negative 2, and this is the ordered pair 8, 1. So first we need to find our slope, and we'll say, I'll label those according to x of 1, y sub 1, x of 2, y sub 2. Remember, it doesn't matter which one you label as those. You could change them and it'd still be the same thing. Okay, so we got 1 minus a negative 2 over 8 minus 3. So we got 1 plus 2 over 5. So 3/5 would be our slope. And then now we need to use y minus y sub 1 is equal to mx minus x sub 1. So y minus y sub 1 we said is negative 2. M we just found to be 3/5. X minus 3. Okay, and I'm going to erase some of this. Have a little bit more room. So this is going to be y plus 2 is equal to 3/5 x minus, we got 3/5 times, I'll put it 3 over 1. So that's really going to be 9/5. So we have 3/5 x minus 9/5. Subtract 2 from both sides. So we've got a negative 9/5 minus 2 over 1. Multiply that, 5 over 5, so negative 9/5 minus 10 over 5. So that'll be negative 19 over 5. All right, move this. Okay, so we got y is equal to 3/5 x minus 19 over 5. And this would be our equation for these values that they gave us here. Okay, now let's look at graphing linear functions. So in the equation, f of x is equal to mx plus b. Remember, this is the same thing as y is equal to mx plus b because f of x is equal to y. It's the same thing. We know that b is the y-intercept, and it goes through the point 0b, which means it crosses the y-axis. We know that m is the slope of the line, and it gives us the rise over run. And we know that this is the formula for slope. So let's look at this. we're going to graph the function 5y minus 10x is equal to negative 15. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into y equals mx plus b format. So we got 5y minus 10x is equal to negative 15. I'm going to add 10x to both sides. So 10x minus 15. And then divide each term by 5. So y is equal to 2x minus 3. Now I know that this is the y-intercept, so it will have the point 0, negative 3. So that would be right here. Now I know that the 2 is the slope, and now if I write that as rise over run, all I need to do is put a 1 underneath it, so now it's rise over 1. So I'm going to start at my negative 3, and I'm going to go up 2, or rise 2, so 1, 2, and then run, or over 1. So this would be my next point. So there's our 2 points, and we'll just put a straight line through. See if I can get it through both those points. Straight line through both those points. And that's how you would graph that function. Now let's look at finding the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. So these intercepts that we're talking about, that's where the graph will cross the axis. So the x-intercept is the point at which the graph crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is the point at which the graph crosses the y-axis. So if you're trying to find the x-intercept, what you're going to do is you're going to let y be equal to 0. Because at that point, so here's our graph right here. If it's an x-intercept, well then it crossed the graph right here. And at that point, y is 0 on the x-axis. If we had this graph here, okay, well now it crossed the y axis at this point right here. So there's the y-intercept. At that point, x is going to be 0. So for finding the y-intercept, you're going to be setting x equal to 0 and then solving for y. So if we look at this, we're going to find the intercepts of this equation. So if we're going to find the x-intercept, that means that y is equal to 0. Okay, so 0 is equal to negative 3 fourths x plus 3. Then I'm going to solve for x, so move that 3 over. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by the inverse of this, so 4 over 3. So times negative 4 over 3. Notice the 3's will cancel. Negative times a negative is a positive, so 4 is equal to x. And then we'll do the y-intercept, so that means x is 0. So y is equal to negative 3 fourths times 0 plus 3. Notice this entire term right here will go to 0 because anything times 0 is 0. So y is equal to 3. So if you wrote these as ordered pairs, this would be 4, 0, and over here would be 0, 3. Okay, so let's look at this one. So we're going to find the x-intercept, so that means y is equal to 0. So negative 6 times 0 plus 3x is equal to 18. This whole thing right here goes to 0. So you got 3x is equal to 18. Divide both sides by 3, so x equals 6. And then the y-intercept means that x is 0. So negative 6y plus 3 times 0 is equal to 18. This whole thing right here goes to 0. So negative 6y times 18. Divide both sides by negative 6, so y is equal to negative 3. And as an ordered pair, this would be 6, 0, and this would be 0, negative 3. Okay, now it gives us a graph, and it says, okay, we'll find the intercepts given the graph below. So if we're going to find the x-intercept, which we know that means y is 0, and y is only 0 when you're looking at the x-axis. Okay, so here's the x-axis right here. Okay, so it crosses, or the function